Hey everyone, Jason Starne here, the Senior Application Specialist for CineSys-Oceana, and I just want to give you a quick presentation of my demo that I did for the Dallas Flame user group here that we had June 1st. So hope you enjoy it. The idea for this is I wanted to show some tips and tricks and show a bit of substance texture, and then a new Matchbox that Brian Bailey turned me on to called Sweat that Lewis Saunders wrote. It's just amazing. So got some reference pieces here I downloaded and started building this presentation Wednesday morning. Had a few hours to put together, but you'll see that's the power of flame, right? Things can come together pretty quick. So there's another inspiration image there, and so let's just get started. If you have not used substance textures, they're basically procedurally generated textures from within Flame inside of Action. So I'm going to pull up a color source here and just feed a media layer here into my Action. So you see it's just this white image here, and what we're going to do in our node bin, hit S here, go to our substance textures, and I use beer, right? So right away that's available to me inside of the food menu. But if you want to explore the textures in there, just go up a directory, hit scan subdirectory, and you can see everything available to you, or you can just kind of go through all the subdirectories. But there's a slew of procedural textures that are generated for you right here, and they're just amazing to use. So like I said, I ended up using just the beer because that's what I wanted to show tonight, and just to talk about the substance textures. So over here you have different texture resolutions, right? You can go all the way down to like a 128 by 128, and you can see it's just repeating, or you can go up to as high as a 4K. So I ended up just staying with a 1K texture just for speed, and it kind of gave me what I wanted. And there's a couple menus here and basics where you can change the color, the randomness of things. You've got some controls there. But in the material is where really the magic happens, where you can kind of generate what you want from that texture. So if you turn on regen, right, you can actually see different beer types, like dark beer, light beers, cheap beers. I think you got 4 different beer types. What I did was end up pulling the glass out because I didn't need the edge here, and that's what that glass option is giving us. And the water droplets here, I wanted to use the sweat Matchbox, so I pulled that all the way to 0. And then basically, because it's just a diffuse texture, you can go to the axis here and just kind of scaled this up a little bit in the Y unproportionately. And kind of that's it, kind of came out with something like this. If we look again at the substance, the foam was really neat because you can actually grow that too. And all this stuff is animatable as well. So just really, really great. If you're not using substance, you should check them out. So let's kind of bounce through a little bit, and I'll show you the next step. Again, this was just this image here being fed into the Action. This is a piece of geo that I imported. So if we just step into the Action, it's very simple, right? So we've got the image, we've got a single light, and this is a default cylinder that is provided to us. So I just stripped the discrete logo off of it. And so all we need to do is just put this guy in place, right? So I'm just kind of putting it in place over the glass, and then I'll use the beer that's coming in, that's being fed from this guy. So this was the beer that I actually was happy with, and that's just being fed as a media layer. So we'll do a diffuse map on him and attach that to that geo. So still looking pretty rough there, but that's kind of how I set this up. And I'll go to another Action. You'll see it get a bit better. But what I wanted to show here is how to create that background, right? So using this image here, I'm going to create an extended bicubic of it. Just reset that. And then go to the side view. And so what I'll do is select the bottom here in the side view and just kind of pull that forward, and then select the Bezier, deselect, and just select the Bezier and then pull that out. So using this kind of as a guide, I'll deselect those and then select these 2 points here and pull this back to the edge, deselect, and then select the Bezier and pull it down, right? So I've got this nice kind of ramp site going. So if you look at F4 here to our result view, at this point, all I need to do is just kind of scale it out in X, and maybe scale the whole thing up, and then just kind of put it into position. So as it starts to cut the bottom, I know the glass is sitting on top of that. So I just orbit this around and kind of see what's happening. So I've got this glass cut out, 3D geometry sitting on top of it, and this background I just created for you guys. So let's go reset that guy, but let's just step into now the other action here. It's just the same duplicate action. It's got my beer source here that's feeding it, and then I did add a matte edge node in here so I could shrink and blur the matte a bit so you can see it's a little bit cleaner. If I just bypass it, it's a little bit rougher, so I wanted to clean that a little bit and just took that into action here and kind of show you it's not much bigger as far as the nodes are concerned, but what I did now is on the geometry itself, I wasn't still not happy with the way the projection or the diffuse map was working. So because by default it's a blend, right? So I took that to a multiply, which kind of gave me this nice little edge here. Looks like it's starting to get some refraction going. Still a little rough here around. So I end up using a deform mesh. So if I unhide that, you can see I kind of fit that in a bit better here, and kind of gave some irregularities to the top as well, to the head. And they're animated, right? So if I scrub through, you can kind of see the beer kind of move around a bit as the fizzies go up. But it still wasn't right. It was getting too much edge here on this side. I was kind of liking what was going on over here on the right by the handle, but that's where the shader node came in. So turning on the it's turning on the shader node, but shading off. So I added a shader node, but I actually turned the shading off, right? So I thought, well, maybe I should play with the shaders with maybe the PBR, see if I could get something. Car paint, these are really nice. If you look at David Hanna's demo, you'll see it kind of goes over these. But I just did shading off because I wanted to basically just kind of see through it on both edges, and gives us the appearance of beer now. We have transparency on both sides. I'm not getting shadowing, and that's where the shading off on the shader really helps. And so the next thing I did was added a light for a shadow cast. So we're using the shadow cast to get this shadow here, this nice soft shadow. I just did 3D soft shadows and really cranked up the softness there and put the light in a position where I liked it. So I'm going to switch over now to live preview mode with hotkey number 3 here. And the reason for that is I added some Stingray reflections in this scene as well. So if you haven't used these Stingray camera effects, check them out. Stingray reflections generate this reflection just based off the screen space in the image. So it's really nice. You can just crank up the intensity and get a true reflection going on. And it still felt a little floaty, right? So next thing to show you is the AO. If I crank this AO up, I'll just turn it off here for a second. You can see what's happening. So I'm getting ambient occlusion around here, around the edge, the top here, which is not right. And the reason I want to show that to you is you have the ability to control where that AO falls, even the reflections and all these camera effects, by going into the selective and choosing a selective type, right? So if I turn on selective viewing right now, it's basically AOing on the whole raster of the screen here. So if I just go to like a cube cam, it's just going to basically create this cube and fall in this area right here. So I could bring this down and kind of control exactly where it's going to hit. We could give it some fall off here to get it a bit softer, maybe it's still a little high. Maybe I just want the AO right here at the edge at the bottom. So we turn off our selective viewing now. The AO is just happening right here in this area. So we can increase the radius, maybe decrease the intensity, but that really gets it grounded. And pretty quickly I got to this point, and still haven't done any rendering or any caching, anything like that. I could just scrub this thing. I could hit play, see the beer kind of scooting up, the fizzies. So next thing was, how do I get the sweat on top? You could actually use the Matchbox inside of action for the sweat. It has a different, it works a little bit different inside of action versus outside, so I chose to use it outside my batch. So I'll show you the way it works, and then I'll talk about why I broke out the action into different render passes. So let's go back to our effects nodes, Matchbox here, and just bring in the sweat from Logic. So the way it works, there's actually notes too. You can go and check out video. And this is a 2017 thing only. I did try this on the Mac. Didn't get good results. Something was wrong. So I don't know if that's a limitation on the ATI, you know, on the graphics card versus the NVIDIA. So you guys, if you find that it gets yellow and green, that's something going on there. So the gradient here, I'm just going to use that node and feed in a color input because it needs an input to generate the refraction and the color for the drops. So that's all you got to do is you got to feed it something, and then you'll start to get that. So if I hit play, you see it just dripping, collecting, gooing up. So we have a lot of different controls, and I'll talk a little bit about those, but it's just a great little Matchbox. So basically this Matchbox here, you're going to see it because I'm feeding it from the beauty output. It's going to basically cover the whole area of build drops on the output here. So, but I don't want that really. So that's why inside of action, if we take a look at the output here, we've got some new output selections, render passes that are really set up a lot like Maya is, or any 3D application. So I created another layer that was just the mug, and the way the new render passes work is you just click on them to see them, right? So if I want to see AO in here, I could just turn on AO. Let me turn off the icons there, and you can see the AO happening. If I want to activate that, I just turn it on right there. So if we go back and look, now I've got the mug AO from that render pass, or from that render layer rather. So pretty neat. So I don't really need the AO, but I did want the matte out of it, and that's why I had the matte turned on. And the reason for that was, if we take a look at the comp here, the comp node, again, it's the drips are forming all over the screen. I just wanted to take the matte out and apply that into the comp to cut it. And so now my drips are constrained just to the mug. So from there, I'm just doing a regrain node to give it a little bit of kind of some texture, and then about a 1 minute render. And so this was the final that I came up with. And so in a few hours in flame, we got some beer. So hope that you guys enjoy it. If you got any questions, shoot me an email, jason@CineSys-Inc.com, or visit diffs. And if you guys want this setup, I'm happy to send it to you. So thanks a lot.